Planning and Zoning November 16th, 2021 for the Chino Valley Plan. Hello.
I think it's good.
I can't make money at it.
You had to adjust probably some things back there.
Okay, good. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our staff so that they can guide us through all the stuff that we need to know here tonight.
Awesome. Mr. Penn, is this your first official meeting with the Planning Commission? You are, it is?
Yes.
Well, we need to introduce him. So this is Ronald Penn, our new zoning commissioner. His first meeting, he has been attending the meetings and sitting in the audience, and so he kind of gets to see a little bit of how it works and some of the good and bad things that go with it. So welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. So tonight, I have a couple of things going on. You each have a binder in front of you, and in the binder is a table of contents with about 8 things in there. We will get through as many as we can, and understand that I have piles of other things in my office that are not in this binder. So we have opportunities for more training time together, even if it's just one subject after each planning commission meeting, depending on how the chairman wants to manage that. And certainly when we get closer to the general plan, there'll be a lot more things involved with that. We have a little video, and we have the list of 4 things that I spoke with the council about, 3 of which will come to you as planning commission members. So I want to share with you what I shared with them and let you know the things that are coming.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we just wanted to kind of give you just a brief overview of the 5,000 foot in the air. What is zoning? This video is courtesy of City of Phoenix, so it is a little not rural. So it not really Chino Valley issues, but it covers the zoning topic very well.
I'm not hearing it.
I hear it briefly. Lawrence, would it be possible to get audio from the computer? Sorry. I'm hearing it, but I don't know where it's coming from.
Is that going to play off here?
Is that where you have it?
Yeah, it's coming from.
Sorry, one moment.
Sure. Sorry.
One moment to get back there, and then try and roll it again.
Okay.
What is zoning? Zoning is the way a community controls the physical development of land and the use of property. Every property in the city has a legal zoning designation that determines how a property can be utilized. Zoning was originally created as a tool to protect the health and safety of a community by separating incompatible land uses. Zoning was originally created as a tool to protect the health and safety of a community by separating incompatible land uses. Today, zoning still serves this purpose, but it's also used to help protect neighborhood character and property values, create new and unique places.
Lawrence, we've got an echo going on in here.
Property zoning is critical to understanding what is legally allowed to occur on the property and where you are thinking about buying a home or starting a business, choosing a property that has the zoning that meets your needs is a vital first step. What exactly does zoning do? Zoning regulates many aspects of a property. The first and most notable aspect zoning regulates is land use. Zoning codes are typically organized into several sections based on groupings of land use categories, from single-family residential to industrial. For the most part, zoning categories are intended to only allow for one type of land use. For example, zoning categories for single-family residential only allow you to live in the house, but do not permit any business activity to occur. Let's highlight some other key aspects of zoning besides land use regulation. Building height. Zoning regulates how tall buildings or structures can be on a property. Setbacks. Every zoning district sets parameters for minimum or maximum distances a building can be from a property line. Lot coverage. Many zoning districts also regulate how much of a property can be covered by the building. Density. Zoning sets limits on how many dwelling units or homes can be placed on a property. For example, if your property is zoned single-family residential, it can only have one primary structure on it for living purposes. Thank you so much for watching.
Appreciate City of Phoenix. We appreciate City of Phoenix for contributing this video for our educational purposes today. But it was just kind of a brief overview of what zoning is. Well, that was specific to Phoenix. It is, many of those concepts are applicable in all cases within Arizona, if not the U.S. So just to kind of set just the tone for going forward here.
So in your notebook, the first tab is what is planning, because people don't know what that is. And even though you're not the staff that planners, you are the citizen planners. That's what your role is on the Planning Commission. So this stuff applies to you guys as much as it applies to us. So for us, planning is looking at the bigger picture and also being able to zoom down to the minutia with the zoning. We look not just today, but in the future. We also look at the past as a way to maybe, hopefully, not make mistakes or to change up how we have been doing things. The role that we all have is a constantly changing role. So it's not like, oh, we figured it out, here it is, we're done. The world doesn't work like that. And as we change and society changes and land uses change and values change, then the things that we do as planners we're forced to change too, because our community is changing. And so when we think we've got it, we have it for that moment. And so we're constantly looking at things that are changing. And that's really one of the keys that you guys do is your hands and feet and ears and fingers in the community. You're seeing things, you're hearing things, and you're different. You were not chosen because you came out of the same mold. You were chosen because you represent different areas, different aspects of the community. The idea isn't that we all of us thinking the same. If that's the case, then no, we only need one person here. And so your job is really to hear all those things and bring those aspects into the meetings with you in the dialogue that we have, and in your decision and deliberation time. So don't think you all have to be one like and one mind, because you don't. And we don't all have to be lined up with the council either. What will be great is when we get the new general plan updated, which you guys will be very active in, and we have a better pathway. So that'll be when we know that things that we've recommended to council with the general plan and the council says yes or makes changes, that's where we know really what their direction is. And so then we use the general plan as our guidebook for things. Does it match the general plan? Our current general plan is extremely vague, and it doesn't give us very good direction. So when you have such a wide swath of land use types that can happen in an area that's not specific enough to help you guys really make the decisions that you need to make. And I'm sure there's times you feel lost because there's such a wide range of things that you can choose from. And I, as a planner, am not of the mind that just because it fits, it can fit in that category in the general plan, that it actually is a good fit at that location in the town. If we didn't have to do that discerning, then, like I said, you wouldn't need us, and the town wouldn't need you. We would just, go to council. But you guys are a discerning key for every land use decision that happens in this community. And just because it does comply with the general plan doesn't mean it's a good fit. And you guys help determine if something is a good fit. And something that might be good on this block, 3 streets over, might not be a good fit at all. And you guys decide that, and you make that recommendation to council. So really, you guys are so pivotal in guiding what happens in this community. What you do is a recommendation to council, and council will either take your recommendation or change your recommendation or deny it, and it's okay. Because for you guys and for them, you're looking at different things. If we flip to the third tab that says Planning Commission, I found this really good description from a Planning Commission member about planning. He says, why even bother? Because he was frustrated because he felt like the Planning Commission and the council weren't necessarily on the same page all the time. And he felt frustrated that he didn't think that they were clicking. And truly what this does is it tells you that you're not the council and you're not supposed to be the council. And you're looking at land use stuff and you're getting the pulse of the community. And what the council is looking at is a very different picture. They're looking at finance, health of the community, police, crime, schools, things that, isn't really the land use stuff that you guys are focused on. So if they make a different decision, it's not because you made a bad recommendation. It's because they have other pieces that filter into their decision-making process, and that's okay. And I think you'll feel better about it once we get the new general plan. I think you guys will feel really good about the direction that we're going. So when you get a chance, go ahead and read this letter from this commissioner. I read it and I said, this answers some of the questions that I know that I've heard from different commission members about being concerned about really what your role is. So you are a recommending body, and you do bring in different comments and aspects from other people out in the community. So, and I wouldn't, if all of you always agreed on everything, I would be very suspect. You really need to be different, and you need to be varied, and you need to have different ideas and thoughts. Doesn't mean you can't come to a decision together to agree on, or if you just can't do it, then you vote no, and that's okay. So I just want you guys to be comfortable with that concept. So in this book is also about the Planning Commission meeting process, and actually the chair does a great job with the process of the Planning Commission meetings. I think fluffing up our agenda helped a little bit.
Yep.
With some of the process steps. And so I think you guys, you run a smooth meeting. You're very respectable, Mr. Chairman, to everyone that comes up. I really appreciate that. I've seen some planning commissions that are not, and I that's not our purpose. Our purpose is, for our meetings with the Planning Commission, is to gain more feedback from people. And sometimes they aren't respectful, And I appreciate how you ask them to be. I just think that's a very, I guess I'll say adult way to, respond to people that are very emotionally charged. You're very calm. And I think that helps them be calm as well. So thank you for that. We also have a parliamentarian on the commission. This would be your vice chair. And I have a huge Robert's Rules of Order book for you. Usually at the Planning Commission, we don't stick to the congressional style Robert's Rules of Order. It's more of a way to keep us on track. And so if we get to a place and it's like, well, what are we supposed to do here? Then the parliamentarian helps us figure out what the pathway is.
Actually, I think Commissioner Pasiak has served that purpose well. He's always the one that points out the rules and regulations to the rest of us.
Yep, I think it's a good fit. Good fit. Very conscientious, very thoughtful about where we're going. So is that in, I think in the meetings section, there is a page on Parliament, on procedures, so I think it's like the second
page in.
Yeah. So it's kind of like at a glance, if you want to amend a motion, you say this. And I think part of the struggle that I've recognized with most planning commissions is they don't know the right words to say. And so this kind of as a primer that helps us to start the right words to make sure that we're taking the action that we need to be taking. So this is a good cheat sheet for us, but like I said, I have the full Robert's Rules that I will be giving to your vice chair. And seriously, it's like 2 inches thick.
It's an excellent read before bed.
Yeah. Or for bed.
Or for bed.
Oh my goodness. So there's a couple of articles in here about running meetings. There's one about having shorter meetings. You guys do really well with your time management. That is not an issue at this in Chino Valley. I have had the unfortunate experience of having 3 and 4 hour meetings, and they're brain killing. You don't really get. It's almost like, well, if we drag it out, then maybe people will stop talking. No. The whole purpose of us being a commission and being staff is to get input. I mean, that's why we do the notice in the newspaper. We do the postings. We post the site. We do the legal ad. We send out postcards because we need to hear from people. That's what helps guide our recommendation. And that's the kind of stuff, that's why we want people in our hearings. When no one shows up, it makes me uncomfortable. And you could say, well, if it's not contentious, people will stay home. If it doesn't bother them, they're not going to come. But I think it's really important to have people here when it's something they support as well. And people should feel welcome coming and stating those things. And don't get discouraged if all you hear is negative stuff from people. It's not about you. Sometimes it's just change, and change is hard sometimes. Sometimes it's the wrong change. And so you guys get to help discern if it's the wrong change. So there's a section on staff reports. APA, which is the American Planning Association, is the organization that professional planners belong to. And I'm going to ask you guys, because they allow us to also sign up our planning commission members, which then gives you access to training and other things that can help you when you're trying to figure out what's going on. So let's say if we decided to do something about sustainability, which I don't see us doing here, but like Phoenix would do something on sustainability, that would be a resource place that you could go to and hunt down information. Super, super helpful. So they also generate a publication every couple of months that's just for planning commission members. And so I'm going to gather your information tonight so that we can sign you guys up so that you can stay connected with that. So the section on staff reports talks about what a staff report should have in it and what they're looking for. And one of the things that we generated, that Will and I generated, is the next 3 pages, which is something that helps you understand that how do you look at different types of cases. So we have an example for how to review a staff report and a case for a rezone, for a preliminary plat, for a final plat, and we're working on the conditional use permit. That one's a little bit more complicated. And so this helps you until you get really comfortable with, what am I supposed to be doing with this staff report? It comes and I read it, but so what? And so this talks about, as a planning commission member, when you look at the case, you need to determine if you have a conflict of interest. You need to visit the site physically. And now that you're getting your packets 2 weekends ahead of time, you have enough time, hopefully, to be able to schedule a chance to at least just drive by and see what the location is and the surroundings. I mean, there's a lot of times that I have seen planners, not here, but they'll write a staff report and they have never been out to the site. I mean, that's great. You can look at an aerial, but until you go out there and see what's on the ground and stand there and turn around and look, you won't understand impacts from some neighbor that's coming in to complain. Then it just sounds like, oh, they're just complaining. No, they have an issue. And if you've seen it, you'll recognize that. And I think that helps you work better with the neighbors, with the applicant, and hopefully staff has solved some of this stuff before it gets to you. I mean, that's our goal, is to solve a lot of that stuff through the neighborhood meeting process. It doesn't always happen because it takes compromise on both sides, and sometimes you just get people that are angry, whether it's the developer or the neighbors, and there's not going to be a lot of compromise. But that's our goal, is to try and hopefully through design, fix whatever their concerns are. You can't, if the developer wants to develop and the neighbors have say, well, that property's been vacant all this time and we've been riding our horses on it. Well, you know what? You've been riding your horses on that guy's property all that time. And if you want it to stay open and vacant, then you need to buy it. So, I mean, I appreciate the fact that things are changing, but the property owner has the right to do things with their property. So, you guys you're going to get a whole mix of things that you have to mesh together to figure out what's the right path. So just because a neighbor is upset because the property is going to develop, are they upset because their horse riding place has gone away, or are they upset because the type of development being proposed doesn't fit? And so that's the sifting stuff that you guys get to do. So during the Planning Commission meeting, listen, consider the staff and the applicant's presentations, and we as staff do not advocate. We are information gatherers and analysis makers, and we give that to you. We don't advocate for projects. We will advocate for the general plan because we're going to be working on that with you. But when individual developments come in, we're not advocating for any of these people. Our job is to gather the facts and make an analysis and give you a presentation. So don't ever think that we're advocating for someone. Even though we may be making a positive recommendation, it's based on the facts that we have in. So, we can't ethically advocate for projects. So then you listen to the public testimony, ask questions, and then there's some questions that are listed here for you to think about. For a rezone, does it meet the overall intent and purpose of the general plan? How does it fit with existing uses? What are the public comments? What are the issues at the site? Do the conditions help alleviate any of those issues? So that's the kind of stuff that you think about with the staff reports. And then you guys make your recommendation, and then we take that and we package it with the staff report, which does not change. We don't change the staff report. What you guys get is what council gets, and we do a cover sheet on that that explains what action you guys took. So we don't change our staff report. That's an in-place time static thing. And I've seen places that have done that, and it's you know, it's hard then to go back and figure out which report actually went to the planning commission and, you know, what really was your recommendation if you're just shaping it all to mimic what the commission did. So we don't do that. It's like we have our analysis and then we add your piece on top of it, and that's what we give to the council for them to hopefully deliberate on. We schedule early in our process. We set up the meeting dates because now we have a timeline that works for us. So in the case review schedule tab, we have a timeline, and in that timeline, we do our noticing, and in that noticing, we're able to schedule the planning commission meeting, the neighborhood meeting, and the council meeting, and we do that all together at one time with the postcard that we send out, with the legal notice that we send to the newspaper, with the posting we do on the site. So your second to the last tab has got this long schedule, and this is the staff's version. We have notes in here about the minutia of the stuff that we have to do to make sure we don't miss a beat in here. All of our stuff is very time sensitive. If we miss a legal posting deadline, we have to wait till the next cycle. That's just the way it is. If we miss something in here that is a legal requirement, that is opening us up to a challenge. So I've seen places where they've just, we'll just keep going. And so they take a case all the way through council, and someone who's usually opposed realizes, hey, I never saw anything in the newspaper. Well, guess what? All that work you've done is invalid. And I won't put you in that place, and I won't put the council in that place. So this is absolutely critical walking for us. And if we don't meet it, we skip to the next cycle. It also shows you all of the minutia stuff that we have to do internally to get the information out to other agencies so they can comment and get stuff back to us. And then we gather the comments together. We meet with the applicant. We share with them what the conditions are. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. And then we get you guys your packets 12 days ahead of time so that you have a chance as volunteers to fit this into your life. I think that's just the least that we can do for all of you guys for donating so much of your time. The very last, and there's please read all of this stuff that's in here, or at least look at it, glance at it. This very last tab is something that I found that the state of Louisiana made, and it was really a very simple, clear, and concise document on land use. And so they talk about the general plan, they talk about land use colors, which is amazing because that's what you learn in planning school, that each color on the map means something, each intensity of that color means something. And so they go through and they tell you what that is, which is cool because most people don't know what's red. Oh, it's commercial. I mean, that's part of my blood because that's been my life for 40 years, but other people don't know that. And then, so this is cool stuff. I think this is really cool stuff for you guys to have. And then it goes into some zoning as well. But it's an easily laid out description of this, and I really think that it's a good piece for us to have in here. So I know that was kind of fast. Are there questions or things you guys want more information on, or you just want me to keep going?
Well, I think we need an opportunity to
Read it.
read this
yeah.
thing through and then maybe come back with some questions.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to do with you is talk about the 4 things that I shared with the council at their work session. The first item is the UDO committee, which was set up to change pieces of the UDO to conform to the general plan. If you go into the UDO under the Planning Commission, the UDO actually gives you guys, the Planning Commission, that authority to recommend changes to the UDO.
Well, that would be something that we would be interested in.
Super. Here it says initiates changes to the town zoning map or the provisions of the UDO. That is, the commission shall have the following powers and duties. That's number 4. So if you think that we are stumbling as a town on something, you can say, hey, at the end of the agenda under commission, staff, we'd like you to take a look at X.
Like our zoning that we're working on now to create a new zoning designation.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been pushing for that for quite a while.
You have the authority to initiate those changes.
Okay, that's good.
Yep. I mean, you guys see this stuff. You know, being the hands and feet and the eyes and the fingers out in the community and not being political, but looking at what the issues are. You know this stuff. You know where there's bumps. And a lot of times the same bumps come back meeting after meeting with similar kinds of projects. So that is one of your powers right there. So that you have 5 powers. Recommend to the town council a general plan and amendments. Annually review progress towards implementation of the general plan and recommend to the town council changes desired due to new legislation, development trends, and changing economic, social, and environmental conditions. And probably you haven't been doing that, but staff has been lacking, and we'll pick that up and make sure that we're working with you to share with you annual progress. And probably there won't be a lot until we get the new general plan, but
Right.
that's part of what keeps the plan new and alive and active and valid is when every year we check it with what's going on, you know. And what are we doing? Are we doing the right things? And if we keep doing something that's different, maybe that piece of the general plan isn't really functional and maybe we need to look at making some changes. But that's the process we go through. You review and make recommendations to the town council on proposals to amend the town zoning map or the provisions of the UDO. Number 4 is you can initiate changes through staff. And the 5th one is review and recommend approval to the town council of design guidelines or standards of development. And that can mean a whole lot of things.
Yep.
Okay. So I recommended that the UDO committee go on hiatus until the general plan is done. And then if the council wants that committee back, then reconstitute it into a form that has at least a couple of you guys on it. So that was the first thing I brought before them. The second thing I brought was a discussion about the SR 0.16. When truly, when you read the purpose statement, you all have heard this and you've all read it, and many of you have quoted this back. It says really that the purpose was not to make any more of these. I read that the first week and I said, why are we doing these?
But we did.
You know, why are we making these? Because that was prior direction. So what I had to do, because prior cases were in the process, I had to not share with you my position, which would put us in a legal challenge. I had to wait until those cases made it through their process. We currently have no cases that are using the SR 0.16 in process. So I am bringing this forward to you. My proposal is that we take this zoning designation and tuck it in the non-conforming section of the code. And what that does is it doesn't let this code, this district be used for any new areas with this designation. Now, we have some areas that have the zoning in place, and those people have their entitlements, and they are allowed to develop with what their approval is. But you will not see another one like this come through my office to you.
And if we move it over as you suggest, then that'll take it out of the play for good.
Yes, it will.
Okay.
So during that discussion with the council, they were interested in the half-acre and a quarter-acre lot district. And so when we come back and talk to you about the half-acre or 20,000 or 22,000, whatever number it is that we end up with, we'll also be talking about a 10 or 11,000 square foot lot, so that you've got the quarter-acre and the half-acre.
Okay.
So this will come to you in December. I've been sitting and waiting for that last case to make its way through, and it actually got withdrawn. And so when he withdrew, we moved. We did our legal notice, we did all the stuff that we needed to do, and so that will come to you in December. The third thing I spoke with the council about was guest houses. The definition of a guest house does not allow them to be rented or otherwise listed for income purposes. So one of the things that I had done in my previous job was we created a guest house provision, but what we did is we required the owner of the property to live in one of the houses, either the guest house or the primary house, and then they could rent out the other unit. What this does is, besides opening up some housing opportunities, maybe making some things legal that people are currently doing. I'm sure everybody knows someone who has a guest house that they're renting out for income purposes. But what happens is if you have the owner of the property living on the site, if there is an issue with a tenant, neighbors can go to the property owner. You really reduce the amount of complaints if you have the owner living there. If you allow both of the buildings to be rented out, then you have an absentee landlord issue, and then you start having problems.
Is this going to be addressing just leases, or will it address month to month or like VBRO situations? Don't know.
I guess we could qualify that. That could be part
It
of
could be
this.
part of the discussion then. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will also make sure that we define what kind of units they could be, because someone then said, well, I'll just dump my camper shell. And it's like, nah, that's not really what we're talking about.
Right.
So we'll be coming up with definitions for what does that include. We also have a maximum size. We're going to have a minimum size as well, so that we'll have some sideboards. So anyways, that'll be coming to you for discussion purposes before it moves wherever you guys want it to move. The last thing I talked with them about was Connex boxes. My understanding is that we kind of got caught up in crossways and we didn't complete a process where you and the council had spent a lot of time talking about Connex boxes and where they should go and how big should they be and how many should they have and what does it look like and where do they sit. And And I think that the biggest issue was that we were requiring a building permit. Well, if we look at this as a storage container, it doesn't need a building permit. If it's storage, has no electricity, has no plumbing, it's storage, like a storage building that you get from Home Depot or Ace Hardware. It's storage. You don't need a building permit. We just need a land use permit, which is we check the setbacks, we make sure it's placed appropriately on the site, that it meets whatever other criteria was adopted, and we're good. Someone wants to do something different, then they get to tangle with the building code, and that's not going to be an easy process to go through. So what I had done was sat with Will, and we looked at what happened. You want to hand these out? So we looked at, oh, and leave me one. Thanks. We looked at the issues that were discussed last time, and we updated a couple things, like we refined the definition of a metal storage container, what it is and what it isn't. We defined what a land use permit is. And then we took each of these areas that was a discussion area and separated them out with a box. So you could look at each one of these and say, I agree with this, or I disagree with this, or this piece works, or this piece doesn't work. Because the feedback that Will gave me was that it was a lot of stuff together, and it was hard to separate out really what the individual issues were. And so using this kind of a process with how this page is set up, it separates out each of the individual issues as discussion topics for us. So we did get some feedback from council, but I told them that it would come back to them, but it's going to come to you guys first. We are not ready to bring it to you in December, so it'll be January or February that we'll bring it before you. And if you want me to do like one at a time, if you want to address the guest houses first, if we want to do the half acre and quarter acre first, I think we've got that going. I think we have that going in December.
Yep, for half acre.
Is there other, so my suggestion, and the commission can jump in here. The last discussion we had about the half acre zoning occupied a lot of time.
Yes, it
and
did.
there was a lot of good ideas and a lot of different ideas.
Right.
So if the agenda in December is busy with other things, then maybe that's not a good time to be doing something like that.
Okay.
That would be the only suggestion from my standpoint, is we want to have plenty of time to talk about it, judging by what happened the last time we talked about it. And if we have 3 or 4 other items on the agenda, that might kind of make it a difficult evening for everybody to participate
Do
in.
you know what we have?
So right now we only have a single zoning case on the agenda. It is a rezoning for a division of land. It should be fairly straightforward.
And the other thing that I have is the SR 0.16, putting it into the non-conforming section.
I
of
think
code.
that's going to take about 3 seconds.
I figured as much. So then we can bring the half
We will
acre.
be very happy to not be able to use that as a tool.
That's what I figured.
When we discussed the half acre,
Yes.
Gary,
can you hear me now?
nope.
Gotta,
Pull it right
gotta
to
be
you.
6 inches.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Is it on?
It's on.
Okay, how's this?
That's a little better.
Yeah. I think it's 8
Put that
up.
thing right in your face.
Yeah, so this thing is like
Yeah.
this flat surface has to be
Oh.
at you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay,
Yay.
fine. I think
Verizon is going to be unhappy with you, but we can hear you.
I think one of the things we really need to get straightened out before we, and we can do this as part of the half acre zoning, but we need to decide if we're going to take easement or right of way.
And I think that's a huge part of
Yes.
that
Th-
discussion.
that is it's a major item that needs to be straightened out, and
I would completely agree. I
And-
know that gentleman right there has his ideas on it.
and I think if we get the city engineer or the town engineer to state his preference, and I think his preference would be right of way, because I don't think legally we can pave anything on easement because it's a private easement. Right of way is public.
Yeah, and those kinds of things.
It's a nuance that really needs to get straightened out.
Yes, and that's why the not crowded agenda would be helpful, because there's going to be a lot of things that we need to nitpick our way
Right.
through there.
Right. My goal was to have Frank here with us tonight, but that wasn't possible. I wanted him to talk about roadways and easements and what does that mean and how do they look and what can it be, and
So that might
and
be
how are we gonna get
another.
the money to pave it?
yeah.
That might be another study session to educate folks, because there's a lot to it.
There is, and it's complicated and it's confusing, and I always have to go, wait a minute, well, what was that again? You know?
And there's some areas in town where we've made some changes over the years in the zoning that the traffic is a really huge issue with it, and so we need to know as much about it as we possibly can.
Absolutely. And it's good for when Frank joins us and we talk about that, if there's specific areas of concern that you have in the community, to identify them to him as well. I mean, he looks for certain things. You guys see different things.
Correct.
Awesome. So other than giving you a form to fill out with your home information so that we can get you on APA, American Planning Association, Planning Commissioners Network, I don't have anything else. Unless you guys had anything related to any of this stuff that we already advertised that you'd like to chat about.
Does anybody on the commission have questions or concerns or things that could be brought up now to help us later? I think this book is going to be very helpful, and we're looking forward to ongoing education.
Great, and I'm looking forward to adding sections in it with you.
I don't have a pen. Okay. Just a comment. When we review this, if we have comments, should we just email the comments in?
Yeah, you can do that for sure.
Okay. I mean, you can ignore it, but, you know.
Well, and I think it's helpful because then it can create a new option, or if it's something that needs to just refine a comment that we already have, then that's less that we have to do at the meeting and more stuff that's fully thought through. So putting your home address is great, or your mailing address, because that's where your documents will come from American Planning Association. They also have some training session stuff that's a lot more detailed than the things that I've given you. I haven't talked to you about law. I haven't talked to you about non-conforming things. I haven't talked to you about takings. There's a whole lot of stuff, but I want to just get us on a pathway.
Once, I think, give us a little bit of time to
You bet.
digest this, and then maybe we can make groupings of things that could be
I love it.
studied out so we thoroughly understand all the different things. And because I don't know about the rest of the commissioners, but I was kind of dropped in and had to learn on the fly a lot. So that's not the best way, but it sure is a thorough way to remember.
Yes, absolutely. Once you get the forms filled out, thank you. We'll pick those up and get you guys connected to other planning commissioners with APA.
Now, do they send out emails frequently, or is it just once in a great while?
For me as a planner belonging to APA, I get regular stuff from them.
Because that can be helpful if
Yes.
you're not getting a bunch at once.
Right. what's interesting is that you will see topics that are trending nationwide. Doesn't necessarily mean that it fits here. It's good to know a lot of that stuff. And just understand that just because they're giving you that information doesn't mean it's always applicable here. Just like we'll be making our own general plan that's applicable just to Chino Valley, and then we'll be doing our code that's just applicable to Chino Valley. All the stuff that's going on nationwide, we pick and choose the things that fit here. So, a little bit of a smorgasbord.
Absolutely.
You have anything else?
No. Yeah, just thank you guys for being here and being a great commission to work with. It's absolutely a pleasure every time we present to you guys. So thank you.
We appreciate your thoroughness and diligence. It's very helpful for us.
Awesome.
Anybody have any questions or things that need to be brought up at this point? Are we good?
We're good. We'll see you December 5th. Is it 5th?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So that meeting, I believe I'm not going to be here.
That is correct.
7th.
I have a date with a wild animal.
So I hope you
7th.
get it.
Thank you.
So do I.
This is an elk you're going for?
Yes, sir.
What do you do with the liver?
You own it.
Do we get elk
Yeah,
steaks
yeah.
for?
You laugh about it. I make dog treats with it.
That's
No,
awesome.
I
Yeah.
just love that there's that connection.
Yeah,
And
I love it. Yeah.
So just to let you know, I won't be at the meeting.
okay,
Unless-
we will miss you.
We have success early.
Oh, well, maybe that'll happen.
Probably not, because I think I'll just stay up there anyways.
Well, that sounds like a nice time. Awesome.
Alrighty.
All right, so if nobody has anything else, then I'm going to call this meeting adjourned and be done with it.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't even make a motion because.
Alrighty.
All right, thank you, and thank you for the.
You didn't even have a
Snacks?
gavel, so.
No, it's good. Well, the last time I didn't have a gavel, it was very noisy, so I won't do that again. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. I'll just take all that.
Yeah, because I'm so short, it's always right in my face.
Sure.
I had one always turn to the side, talk at it this way, so I was probably one of the bigger.
Better keep it right in your face.